My brother is a disturbed man, he suffers from mania, and in an attempt to prevent me from marrying my fiancé, he broke his own leg. Later, I was murdered in a conspiracy by my fiancé and my best friend. At my funeral, this couple was intimate, scheming on how to spend my inheritance. My brother, who was left with a limp, chased them across half the globe in madness, covered in blood. He brought their severed heads before my corpse, then, holding me, he stroked my head and murmured by my side, "Little darling, your brother has always been here for you, in another life." When my fiancé hugged me, urging me to slip sleeping pills into the water my brother was drinking, I pushed away that man with the disgusting smile. What could possibly be wrong with my brother? He just loves me too much, Luyu. When the time comes, just drop this thing in your brother's drinking glass. Your brother surely won't suspect you. This drug could knock out an elephant, once your brother is asleep. I'll take you away tonight, okay? The person across from me gently squeezed my wrist, but my thoughts were not on him. My gaze was fixed behind him, the shadows of the locust tree swaying. My brother, in a white shirt, at our house's door, holding a kitchen knife, his eyes dark and ominous, looking at us. When I realized I had truly been reborn, my brother had already dragged me inside the house, holding a kitchen knife in his left hand. He fumbled by the door with his right. Probably not finding the rope, he tore off his own tie and tied my wrists. Don't see Yuze, my fiancé, the man who just had me drug my brother. I let my brother handle the knots on my wrists. He truly cared, crying for me, even patting the knots with cotton to avoid hurting me. Brother. I caught his fingers. He paused. Previously in my life, I found even touching him repulsive. This gesture made him hesitate for a second or two, then, he covered my mouth with his hand. Shut up. If you dare plead for Yuze again, I'll kill him. It was like this in my previous life. My brother and I had slowly become estranged. I was madly in love with Yuze, not knowing that when Yuze approached me, he was already involved with my best friend, both conspiring to kill me for insurance fraud. I truly believed Yuze was my soulmate, desperately clinging to him, and my brother tried desperately to stop me, telling me Yuze was not a good person. In a moment of anger, I said many cruel things to him. Lu Ming, you're a freak, imprisoning your own sister. Do you know why the neighbors avoid you? Because you're a monster. I hate you too. Why do you have to be my brother? I don't want you as my brother anymore. I don't want you as my brother anymore. I just remember how pale my brother's eyes were that day. He looked like our mother, beautiful to the bone, yet always emanating a fragile, shattered feeling. He just calmly tied me up, then said to me, "Dinner is fish head stewed with tofu, my favorite dish." When I snapped out of my memories, I was already tied to a chair. My brother was cooking in the kitchen. Indeed, my brother is a mentally unstable control freak, but what is his fault? He just doesn't know how to love me properly. I was distracted for a moment, and my brother came out of the kitchen, looking down at me. "What's wrong, brother?" I looked up and smiled at him. "Why aren't you causing a fuss?" His voice carried a slight hoarseness. In fact, my brother's voice was never hoarse before. It was only after he shouted himself hoarse while working hard to support me. "You don't need to tie me up, brother," I said softly to him. "I won't run away again. I will stay by your side and heal the sickness in your heart." But my brother just looked down at me, his gaze cold. Soft approach now. Since the hard way didn't work, my brother still thought I wanted to run away. But what he didn't know was that he couldn't resist when I softened my approach toward him. The man who turned to leave had a resolute silhouette. I cleared my throat slightly, adding a bit of tone. "Brother, it hurts." 3 seconds later, I was sitting perfectly fine in front of the chair. My brother squatted in front of me, frantic as if I had lost a limb. "Where does it hurt? Should we go to the hospital?" It wasn't on purpose, brother. He wanted to touch me but hesitated because I had once yelled at him loudly, telling him not to touch me. So, during times when I was angry, he never dared to go against me. My fingertips brushed through his soft black hair. He froze, looking at me with a shocked expression as if he hadn't seen it in 800 years. I lowered my head, delicately tracing the corners of his eyes. "Brother, in this life, it's my turn to protect you. I'm serious, now that I've been reborn. Yuze and my so-called best friend, these two scoundrels, won't have a good life. Why should they dirty my brother's hands after my death? Luyu, didn't I ask you to drug your brother yesterday?" Yuze, with his hands in his pockets next to the small store, frowned at me. In my previous life, my obsession with Yuze was like being cursed, so, he always ordered me around arrogantly. "If you don't put your brother to sleep tonight, don't expect me to help you escape." In my last life, I drugged my brother because of what he said, but I don't know if my brother has a high tolerance for drugs. He woke up halfway, struggling to chase after me. He tumbled down the stairs, breaking a leg. I still remember that day. His eyes were so red. As he lay on the ground, he still tried to keep me. He shouted at me, "Don't come back, they are bad people." His voice was completely hoarse, painfully telling me, "Trust your brother. Your brother would never lie to you until his death." Until his death, he would never lie to me, but at that time, I only thought he was a control freak who wanted to keep me locked in his room forever. Yuze probably thought that threatening me with not eloping would make me anxious, but I didn't even raise an eyebrow, asking him, "This drug, It won't kill my brother, will it? And my good, best friend Adu on you. Just then it coincidentally sat next to me with an ice pop. Lu, it's simple, just watch the dosage, and let your brother sleep. After all, he's a scum, and he deserves to die. He deserves to die. Would someone who deserves to die chase after the two culprits to the ends of the earth after my death? Would someone who deserves to die drag a disabled leg to avenge a sister who never listened to him and was always wary of him? Do I not know whether my brother is a bad person? I looked up, almost wishing I could tear these two people in front of me into pieces right now, but now is not the time. I stared at the bag of sleeping powder in my hand. I already had a plan. 5. Did you go see Yuze again? As soon as I entered, I was pulled into an embrace, his high nose bridge fluttered against my neck, his breath shallow. My brother smelled of locust flowers, under the daylight lamp. Lu Ming's face was very pale. His features striking, like ink forcibly splashed on a white paper inkstone, they would crumble at a touch. Brother, I was just, shut up. He interrupted me roughly, his knuckles brushing past my shoulder blade, a foreign touch that sent shivers down my spine, but this time, I didn't dodge. Suddenly, I felt that my brother was like a dog, unsure whether the broken doll he picked up still belonged to him. I smiled, my fingers brushing through his messy bangs, then, I suddenly stopped. Very hot. Exceptionally hot. My brother had a fever. Only then did I notice that his face was paler than usual, clearly in discomfort, yet he still stubbornly looked at me. Brother, why don't you go to the hospital? I took his body, trembling slightly, his voice was cold and hoarse. You promised me you'd be back by 6. I had to wait for you. The clock had already struck 9 in the evening. I was shocked to realize that in dealing with my own matters, I had forgotten the time I had promised him. But my brother, like a fool, insisted on waiting for me even if it fried his brain. My brother lay on the sofa, he looked at me with a shock that seemed centuries old, because I was going to cook dinner for my brother. This was the first time in my life I was cooking dinner for my brother. 6. I'm very good at cooking. In my past life, to please Yuze, I kept changing up the meals I brought him, but towards my brother, I often snorted in disdain, so it was many years later that I learned my brother. This freak had kept a piece of bread I had eaten half of for a long time. The fire for the dried shrimp and scallop porridge was just right. I blew on it and scooped a spoonful to my brother's thin lips. My brother stared at me, suspicion in his eyes that I had drugged him. Are you going to eat? I asked calmly. He bit the spoon, his eyelids drooping, somewhat obedient. It's hard to imagine how his thin arms, with veins so visibly marked, had once decapitated both Yuze and my best friend, brother. Have you thought about our future? As my brother ate the porridge, I spoke softly to him. I'm about to graduate, and your job isn't stable. We could sell our current house and move to live by the sea. I want to open a flower shop. Once upon a time, my plans for the future certainly did not include my brother. The phrase I said to him the most was to tell him to get lost, even though it was he who raised me, he who gave up everything for me. Brother, do you not like flowers? I leaned closer to him, but you always smell of locust flowers. Before I could finish, he had already raised his hand, pinching my chin. The rough fingers of a man brushed past my lips. My brother's gaze at me always starkly carved with the word a possessive. What are you trying to say? At the seaside. Is the flower shop convenient for your escape? Don't lie to me. Okay, Lu, he called my name, like a murmur in a dream. You know full well that the first thing you would do in a new place is to ditch me. He was telling the truth. In my past life, I would have indeed done just that. My brother was like an animal bitten by a snake, forever fearful of ropes and wells, thinking I was the venomous snake tempting him to swallow the bitter fruit. There had been too many times when I had left him with nothing. In the empty room, we silently faced each other. You need to prove it. My brother stared at me. How can I prove it? I asked him. Just as the light flickered and then went out, the room plunged into complete darkness, and soon I understood how my brother wanted me to prove it. I bumped into a fiery chest and felt his hands support my lower back, burning hot. I heard him grunt. And then he grasped my chin. His lips were the first to touch mine. So hot, he was hot everywhere. His fingers brushed the back of my neck as he kissed me, but his heat nearly numbed the root of my tongue. My brother was spoiling his own sister. His lips moved along my damp brows and eyes downward, landing at the base of my ear, stirring the senses with a heat that was not of a normal human. My brother could hardly have imagined that when he sealed my lips, I would clutch his collar and kiss him back. This threw my brother's breathing into disarray, and he straightened my chin. He pressed his forehead against mine, a soft rub. I chased his whispers in the darkness. Only then did I truly understand who was in distress. That's how you prove it. Don't leave your brother. I washed the last dish clean in the kitchen. My brother was in the living room. In fact, I was just avoiding him, having acted too hastily. My brother and I did something we had never done in our past lives. I knew my brother's feelings for me went beyond mere family affection. We weren't blood related, but he had always looked at me with extreme restraint, desiring me. Yet not daring to act, I didn't know how to face him, even though I had lived 2 lifetimes. Just as I was pondering this, my brother pushed open the door and walked in as if nothing had happened. Want a sip? he backed me against the sink, holding a cup of hot milk, he brought it to my lips. I did have a habit of drinking milk before bed, but it seemed like it was from my brother's cup, following the imprint of his lips. I took a sip. Good girl, he ruffled my hair. Brother, I called him. Your kissing technique needs more practice. What? He chuckled. I'm saying. I turned around, and then he unexpectedly kissed the corner of my lips. I grabbed his tie. Brother, do you believe me now? I won't run away. Look, I'm even. But then, the man, bent over, continued to just look at me. I've opened up everything to you. Suddenly, my head began to feel heavy. I looked up at him, my mind unclear. No, my head was spinning. Was there something in the milk? My brother cupped my cheeks with his hands, his calloused fingertips brushed against my eyelids. I couldn't move. There was something wrong with the milk. I heard my brother's voice as if it were coming from far away. This time, you did really well, Xiao Yu, you shouldn't have kept the drugs in such an accessible place in your bag. They just fell out. You almost killed your brother.
Oh no.
It looked like my brother misunderstood. I had the sedatives in my bag to test their origin. I needed to find evidence of Yuze's crimes, but it seemed my brother thought I intended to drug him. Everything I had done seemed to him like a huge, staged act of self-sacrifice. I wanted to explain, but I couldn't speak. My eyelids were getting heavier. What a mess, I thought, trying to raise my hand. But Lu Ming brushed off my sleeve. Do you hate your brother that much? Fooled me once, thinking of fooling me again? My brain was foggy. I felt something tight around my neck, making it hard to breathe. I couldn't move at all. My brother had tied me up. Brother, I looked at him helplessly. You have to give me a chance to explain. Lu Ming looked down at me, his expression unreadable. My brother, tall and thin, seemed as fragile as glass to the world. Yet, he was strong, whether dealing with a couple in his past life or dealing with the disobedient me in this life. His almost cold white knuckles caressed my earlobe. Brother, I called him. Shut up, another harsh reprimand, somewhat hoarse. My brother leaned in and kissed me. His eyelashes were long, tickling my eyelids. I couldn't move, but even this gentle provocation from my brother was too much for me. Because I liked him, I was forced to respond to him. But when my nostrils were filled with his scent, the last bit of my sanity pulled me back from the abyss, making me sober. I was not here to practice kissing techniques with my brother. Brother, cough, cough. I started coughing. He slightly frowned and loosened his grip, gently rubbing my back, choked. Who really needs to practice kissing? His words were harsh, clearly still angry. He thought I had deceived him, but I hadn't, so I got angry too. It's you who doesn't trust me. The drugs were given to me by Yuze. He wanted me to knock you out. I took the drugs just to send them to the testing agency. It's you who doesn't trust me. I held my head high and met his gaze. When my brother leaned in to kiss me again, I knew that my explanations were in one ear and out the other for him. I pushed him away. He raised his eyebrow and uttered, "Oh." His words were light, whispering in my ear. He said, "Yes, the medicine was taken for testing. It wasn't to poison my brother." Lu Yu, are you going to say next that everything you've done was for me? But did you ever love your brother, even just a little? His expression was calm, but his eyes betrayed a frantic desperation. I opened my mouth to say something but found myself at a loss for words. After all, in the past, in my attempts to escape from Lu Ming, I had done shameful things like adding sleeping pills to his breakfast, stuffing his pencil case with lime, and falsely accusing him of theft to get him arrested. It could be said that much of my brother's bad reputation in the neighborhood was my doing, all to clean up my own messes. He couldn't immediately change his view of me, so I decided to bide my time. Then, I suddenly kissed Lu Ming. My brother's lips were soft and inviting. He froze, his eyes widening as if a colorful scroll had suddenly unfurled within them. Then, my brother snapped. My head hit the mattress, but his palm cushioned the blow. The bed sank a little due to our movements, and I reciprocated, interlocking my fingers with his. He kissed my neck and said, "You're going to torture your brother to death." I think, in my past life, I owed Lu Ming a lot. In this life, I'm not sure I can cure him, but I can indeed promise to torment each other until death. 9. My brother's cooking is delicious. It would taste even better if my hands weren't trapped and he was feeding me bite by bite. Brother, I elongated the tone, calling him. The silver spoon hesitated at my lips. Lu Yu, the last time you acted so coy, you almost landed me in jail. He stated this indifferently as a fact. Yet, under the table, my leg brushed against my brother's shin. He paused, a blush crept up his cheeks, so innocent looking. I would have believed it if he hadn't just pinned me down on the bed like a starving wolf. Brother, do you believe in fate? Actually, I had a dream last night where I saw the future. In the dream, I married Yuze. And you broke your leg. Later, Yuze and Duanyu conspired to kill me. Dragging your broken leg, you chased them halfway across the globe. So, I'm quite resentful towards Yuze right now. I stared into his eyes, sincerely sharing these thoughts, but his face remained expressionless. His beautiful eyes like a serene sky, unreadable. Oh, really? He leaned closer, his breath grazing my neck. What a coincidence. I also had a dream last night. In the dream, My little sister was desperate to escape from her brother, so she crafted a beautiful lie. She deceived her brother into living a dream, then ditched him. I almost thought he was reborn too, because in my previous life, I had cajoled Lu Ming before drugging him. I still remember him holding onto my wrist that day, his eyes red, tightly embracing me, saying, "Lu Yu, you won't leave me, right? You're not going to leave me, are you?" So that night, I drugged him. And he ended up breaking his leg. If these are the things my brother dreams about, it's only natural for him, being as neurotic as he is, to want to keep me close. I laughed softly towards him, and he frowned at me. "Forget it then, big brother. No matter how you treat me, I am willing. I promise this is the last time I'll deceive Lu Ming." During my shower, I turned the water temperature to the lowest setting, and when I dried my hair, I used the cold air setting and blew it fiercely against my head. I've always had a frail constitution since I was young. When I felt a chill hitting my forehead and something odd in my sinuses, I sniffled, knowing I was about to catch a cold. Whether I would get a fever was a matter of luck. I wiped my hair and walked out of the bathroom. My brother was sitting on the sofa, his dark eyes intently staring at me. I walked over and, with a little exclamation, collapsed into his arms. Despite my sudden move, my brother still reached out and embraced me. I suddenly felt like a fox spirit seducing a scholar, yet my brother's gaze was so resolute it was as if he was about to renounce the secular world. His voice was cool and detached. "Go to sleep." I pinched his thigh. This didn't feel like my brother. He grabbed my fingers, and I stared at the movement in his throat. "Why are you ignoring me? Stop fidgeting. Go to sleep." His voice carried a warning tone when he spoke again. "Brother, I'm so good to you, don't you like it?" I sat on his lap and reached out to touch his throat. His pupils shook visibly, and he grunted. He was holding back again. "My brother, then I won't be so nice to you next time, okay? It's you who don't want me, Lu Ming. Look, it's you who made your sister." A familiar force came from the back of my neck. My lips were suddenly sealed, swallowing the words I wanted to say. This man didn't want his sister to speak again. The jerk. Sometimes I really pity my brother, even though I'm the one who's locked up. It's him who's truly trapped. I wrapped my arms around his neck. "Are you scared, brother?" He silently nodded in my arms. "You've been too abnormal lately, Lu." His voice was hoarse. "I'm afraid it's a trap, but you know what? Even if you dig a hole in front of me, and say with a smile, 'Brother, jump down,' my brother would jump down without a second thought." In the middle of the night, I felt so miserable I couldn't sleep. I went to knock on my brother's door. "Brother, I think I have a fever." My vision blurred. I looked up at him, and in that moment, a lot of things flashed through my mind. I thought my brother was quite handsome. He'd probably be quite popular with the girls at school, but unfortunately, for my sake, He scooped me up in his arms immediately, to the hospital. Without any hesitation, his coat was already covering me. He touched my forehead with his hand. I could feel him shiver. It must have been very hot. My brother always panics because of me. My brother is too perfect. So God gave him a weakness, which is me. My brother's life, because of me, is utterly shattered. 12. In the taxi, I leaned against my brother's shoulder, feeling genuinely cold, so I clung tightly to his coat, holding his hand. I played with the veins that stood out on the back of it. "Are you still feeling uncomfortable?" "We're almost there." He was worried about whether the fever had affected my brain. I really wanted to tell him I was okay, and that actually, I had done it on purpose. But I couldn't bear to see his expression when he learned the truth. In a panic, my brother rushed me to the emergency room and settled me in a chair in the fore area. He straightened my collar, crouched in front of me, and called me his good little one. "I'll go pay the fee and be right back. Be good. You'll feel better after the 4. I buried half of my face in his coat, watching him with just my eyes. As I nodded, he patted my head, pulled at my collar, and kissed the corner of my mouth. I watched as he hurried away. My brother really wanted to get back to me as soon as possible, but I left his coat on the chair, turned around, and slipped into the vast night outside the hospital. 13. I really wanted to be by my brother's side for a lifetime. Maybe one day, he would understand that I truly loved him, but unfortunately, I didn't have much time left. I couldn't afford to lose the patience of Yuze and Duanyu. It had been tough, but I managed to obtain some evidence of their crimes. It was 4 in the morning, just before dawn, when I called Yuze, but he didn't answer. Understandable, as who wouldn't be asleep at this hour. Meanwhile, I couldn't help thinking about how frantic my brother would be upon discovering I was gone. When I was very young, he once lost me in a mall. I cried amid the crowd until he pushed through and held me trembling in his arms. Since then, he always managed to find me, until in a previous life, he broke his leg, and his sister left him without looking back. The ringing of the phone interrupted my thoughts. It was Yuze. I answered. "Did you run away?" He was silent for a moment before he asked.
"Yeah."
My brother is a bit tricky to deal with. The drugs were taken by my brother. Can you get another batch for me? Don't worry, he's let his guard down around me now. This time it will definitely work. To dispel Yuze's suspicions, I had to pretend to despise my brother deeply. And Yuze was acting strangely today, as if he used a voice changer. This was not a good sign. It meant Yuze was starting to doubt me, like dominoes. I feared that any change from me might completely alter the timeline. How can I trust you, Yuze? After all this time, how can you still question my trust? Apparently, Yuze must have sensed something. I had to keep upping the stakes, taking a deep breath before finally saying, "Don't you know I like you?" There was a long silence on his end before he finally asked, "What about your brother? I need to make sure your brother hasn't turned you against us." My brother. I can barely stand to look at him. He's just a pesky dog around my feet. I'd set off fireworks the day he dies.
Yeah.
Right, not at all. What I said was definitely sarcastic. I closed my eyes and silently added in my mind, "It seems they finally trusted me and gave me an address, 876, Nan Street. Be careful, Yuze and my best friend Duanyu must be involved in some illegal activities. I even suspect that they had conspired to deceive others before they knew me, so this time." I secretly turned on the recording function on my phone. I glanced down at the phone screen, 45 missed calls, all from my brother. The meeting point is an abandoned warehouse. Yuze is always cautious, making it seem like we're engaging in illegal activities even though he was just eloping with me. I can't believe I didn't realize something was wrong in my past life. It's almost dawn, and the light is seeping through the windows. My mind still feels muddled. I thought about quickly gathering some evidence to call the police and get Yuze and his accomplices arrested. My brother. My thoughts were suddenly jumbled, intensely swirling in my mind. I couldn't help but remember his name, realizing that even a moment's betrayal could suffocate me like this. I don't want to lie to my brother anymore. I really regret it. As I walked to the end of the factory, I stopped in shock. The sun was rising. A person was tied to a chair, stammering. It was Yuze. And behind him, my brother had his hands in his pockets, playing with a phone card. At that moment, I suddenly realized, my brother had tied up Yuze. He had learned to solve problems from the root. No wonder he used a voice changer. It wasn't Yuze who answered the phone, it was my brother. What did I say to my brother on the phone? I said, "My brother, I can't even bother to look at him, just a dog that bothers me. The day he dies, I'd set off fireworks to celebrate. I am doomed." The sunrise created a clear divide between him and me. I stood there, feeling my throat dry. "Brother," he tilted his head, his beautiful eyes reflected my image, devoid of emotion. "Are you preparing to plead for him?" He kicked the person sitting in the chair in front of him. Yuze was clearly terrified, desperately looking at me for help. "So cowardly, brother. Let's get this straight. I'm not siding with him, but we don't commit crimes. So you're pleading for him?" He interrupted me. This side of my brother felt so unfamiliar. I had never thought my brother would look at me with such eyes, flat, indifferent, silent. What should I say? I explain. My brother wouldn't believe it, and then everything would just spiral out of control, eventually breaking the bond between us. I thought my brother would be angry, that he would scold me, that he would tie me up and take me home to settle accounts, but he didn't. His calmness made me panic, like slowly sinking into a lifeless swamp. After a long while, I heard him sigh. "Xiaoyu, you know, I like you. I'm afraid of many things, each one about you. I'm afraid you'll get hurt. I'm afraid you'll pick up bad habits. I'm afraid you'll leave. Over the past few days, I've been wondering just how much you must hate me. To the point where you despise me so much, you'd sacrifice yourself. Later, I realized that even if I forcefully held on to you, you would still leave. So, little you, I won't stop you anymore." My brother pushed the man away. I couldn't catch up to my brother's figure in the sunrise, only his words lingered. "Take good care of yourself with him, remember to visit the hospital, I won't see you off." I was stunned there. It took me a long while to come to my senses. My brother doesn't want me anymore. 16. In the empty factory, Yuze was so moved he was nearly crying. "Woo, little you, I knew you cared about me. Your brother is a freak. Quick, call the police, arrest him." I kicked over the chair he was tied to. He pretended we were both involved. Yuze didn't dare to call the police because he was involved in illegal activities himself. The man moaned behind me. He asked me to untie him, but I ignored him. After a brief internal struggle for a few seconds, I chased out of the factory. I decided to follow my brother. Ever since we were kids, it was always my brother who soothed me, so he can't just not want me anymore. I didn't know where my brother had gone, decided to first go home to look for him. Now it's my turn to find his phone unreachable. How the tables have turned. Sitting in the car, I composed a long text message to him, then deleted it one character at a time. Suddenly, I felt like I was infected by my brother. I was going crazy. My mind full of him when I couldn't see him. I finally found my brother, not at home, but at the convenience store by our house. I stood at the entrance, took 2 steps forward, but froze under the streetlight. The convenience store was quiet in the early morning. My brother was wearing a black jacket. He had deep-set eyes and his skin was nearly cold white. He handed something to the cashier with his eyes downcast. The cashier was a very young girl, shyly stealing glances at him. My brother just smiled at her with a twinkle in his eye. I exploded at the entrance. Somewhere in my heart felt like it was being wrung out harshly. 17. My brother came out of the store. He looked at me somewhat surprised. A thin morning light fell on his face, and I stood in his inevitable path. so he tilted his head slightly. Excuse me. The way my brother looked at me was like he was looking at a stranger. I couldn't hold it in anymore. Brother, my voice broke at the end. I watched as my brother's pupils gradually dilated. He pulled me into his arms. His fingertips brushed across my cheek. Why are you crying? Don't cry. I was wrong. It's my fault. Don't cry. Okay. He dropped everything he was holding, just to wipe my tears. I sobbed as I looked at him. I've been without parents since I was little, and now you don't want me either. Lu Ming, how could you be so cruel? He said. All right. It's all my fault. You really are my ancestor. Stop crying. Okay, but I was crying so hard that I could barely catch my breath. It wasn't until my nose felt blocked that I realized I was coming down with a cold. Then it felt like all the viruses in my body launched a collective assault on me. My head spun violently. Only then did I remember I had been tossing and turning all night without even drinking half a bottle of water. My consciousness began to fade as I clung to his sleeve, in the last moment. I could still hear my brother frantically calling my name. I felt my eyes were covered, a black cloth blocked my sight, amplifying all my other senses. Someone lifted my bangs and touched my head. The slightly calloused knuckles belonged to my brother. Brother, I called out to him. He didn't respond, but he started unbuttoning my shirt, downward. I shivered. He rubbed my earlobe. Good. Let's check your temperature, brother. Why are my eyes covered? Because I could hear his breath close to my ear, magnified 1,000 times more than usual, making my heart race. You need to be punished. I have a fever, brother. He patiently tied my wrists, so I had to follow his voice, but then he fell silent, and all I could hear was the friction of the sheets and clothes. And him wrapping a silk ribbon around my wrists. It didn't hurt, nor was it upsetting, but it was deeply bitter. Just like my brother means to me, brother, I was wrong. I had to plead with him. He hummed softly, and I couldn't discern his attitude in the darkness. He took the thermometer from under my arm, apparently checking the reading. Where did you go wrong? I shouldn't have lied to you. I shouldn't have kept in touch with you, Zay, but you know, brother. I contacted you, Zay, and them because I really wanted to. A warmth touched my forehead. Probably my brother checking my temperature with his own. That's not it, Lu Yu. It's not that you lied that made me angry. It's that you deliberately let yourself catch a cold, Lu Yu. Do you understand? My brother forced my legs apart with his knee. You're hurting yourself because of me, so I want to kill myself. Lu Ming says everyone's world is different, and in his world, there's only me, so don't make brother sad. Don't make brother suffer, okay? His kiss landed on my neck, wet. I'm afraid one day I'll go mad, and won't be able to love you anymore. I felt his gentle bite. His voice gradually turned into a painful reminiscence. Even if you put a knife to brother's throat, or break brother's leg, what can I do? I'm willing to endure it. But you're sick, you're in pain, you're uncomfortable. What do you want me to do? I'm going crazy, so please, torment brother a bit more. Don't hurt yourself. Reflecting back, my brother has always been like this, even covered in blood. He would still hold me tight. I clung to my brother's neck. But I love you too. Brother, you should trust me more. I love you too. Those words felt like fireworks suddenly bursting in the air. I could feel it. My brother was stunned. The next second, I somewhat regretted it. My brother too, went crazy, tears uncontrollably spurred by physiological stimuli. My heart clenched tight. At that moment, I finally understood. My brother's pain also tightly bound me. His kiss fell on my heart, invasive, plundering. Creatures in the dark are like this, unable to yearn for light. So they always draw light from each other. As a child, I was afraid of the dark, afraid of falling into an unseen abyss. But if my brother was the abyss itself, I was willing to fall into it. Brother, I unconsciously called out his name. My brother lifted the black cloth, and I looked into his eyes. His eyes sparkled, like the most ancient stars in the universe, burning in my heart. I felt a shameful urge to cry. His slightly hard teeth pressed into the skin of my neck. You said, brother is your dog, so what is this dog doing to you now? He said he doesn't hold grudges, but clearly, he holds deep grudges. 19. The thin morning light fell on the bedding. I moved my arm, and my brother hugged me tighter. Other sisters cling to their brothers like octopuses. But my brother clings to me like an octopus. His prominent nose rubbed against my neck. I wasn't sure if it was intentional, rubbing against the red marks. It hurt a bit. Brother, you were so passionate last night. I thought you wouldn't bear to leave me like this. He buried his head in my neck and laughed. With a heavy nasal tone, he teased my heart with each laugh. Sorry, couldn't hold back. His apology was insincere. Shall I make it up to you? He straightened me up, letting me straddle him. The morning light coincidentally fell on my brother's eyebrows and eyes. He squinted reflexively, his hand caressing my waist, his face as exquisite as if sculpted by the most famous ancient Greek sculptor. I leaned over and bit my brother's shoulder. He reached out to lift my falling hair. I ground my teeth, imagining how my brother handled me last night. I was a bit angry, so I bit down hard. He hissed, endure it. I pinched his neck. He obediently nodded, and I looked down at the teeth marks left on his body. My teeth are really good. Such a beautiful proportion. TSK. I hadn't finished admiring, when my brother suddenly flipped the blanket, wrapping me into his arms. My vision plunged into darkness, surrounded by his scent. His kiss landed on my spine, like the lingering warmth of the morning lifting its tail tone. Deadly. My brother caught a cold. He brought it upon himself. Neither of us ever had good health. Now my breathing is clear. Wrapped in his coat, he sniffed. Should we go to the hospital? I touched his forehead. It's nothing. He rubbed my palm. Yuze is very likely involved with an illegal pharmaceutical factory, but he's cunning. I was investigating him even before you took action. It's just a pity. We're lacking some key evidence. Indeed, whether in his past life or this one, my brother had investigated Yuze, but clearly, both times he failed to catch him slipping. However, my brother was investigating him concerning the illegal pharmaceuticals, and Yuze, he might still be involved in another, even more dangerous activity. I tugged at my brother's sleeve. I think Yuze and Duanyu might be conspiring to commit insurance fraud. My brother paused. You mean, Duanyu approached me first, and then Yuze took his chance, getting close to me, getting to know me, and finally marrying me only to kill me and commit fraud. It was a bizarre suspicion, but my brother's eyes darkened for a moment, especially when he heard it to kill me. Their IDs might both be fake. Brother, you could start looking into that. My brother stared at me for a long while, then he laughed. What, do you want to be a little detective now? Actually, my brother's job really is that of a detective, a private detective, but it's a completely different type of work from the detectives in literature, and as most people understand in reality, I don't like his job at all, because although my brother is smart, he has no formal education. Back then, our family's finances could only support one of us in school. I went to high school. So he had to do this shady job to support me. There was a time when he came home covered in bruises every day. Later, I found out that the tasks he took involved underground fighting. Such a private detective, clearly, as long as there's money involved, he would do anything. Luyu. My brother's nasal voice brought me back to reality. I looked up, unexpectedly. My brother wrapped a scarf around me. Through the thick cashmere, he kissed me. Thank you for standing by my side. I was stunned. Then suddenly felt a tingling in my nose. I've always stood by your side. I will never stray far in this life. Silly brother. After winter, the first spring flowers bloomed. I stood in front of the window counting the ice crystals, with the indoor heating creating a dense fog. A child nearby was solving practice problems. This was my last job before graduating from summer vacation, tutoring part-time. I looked through the glass outside. The thin light reflected on the melting snow. Someone leaned against a silver secondhand Santana watching me. My brother wore a camel-colored cashmere sweater, too pale, blending into the white expanse of the snowy field. Standing far away, I wasn't even sure if he was spacing out or watching me, until my phone in my pocket vibrated. It was his message. Stop looking at me, Teacher Lu, focus on teaching. The curiosity of the kid next to you is overflowing. I remained silent, turned my head, and met the gaze of the child who had just been earnestly memorizing vocabulary. Now her eyes sparkled. Sister, what's the situation with that man? Is he your boyfriend? I ruffled her head. My thoughts returned to the subject at hand, as the melting snow, piled up like mountains, quietly overflows throughout the silent winter. Stepping on the creaking, melting snow, I went out and met Lu Ming. He opened his arms to me. Hey, be careful. I fell into his embrace. It was a slip. And as he wrapped his arms around my waist, I stayed held in that position, my breath dissipating in waves. He adjusted my hat, pulling it over my head. In my dim, swaying vision, he leaned down and kissed me. On the way home, he held my hand, merely because the thin ice on the road could make one slip. I would never admit that I was just seeking the warmth of his touch. As we walked, he spoke. Do you remember the town we used to live in? My brother and I didn't live in this city before. After our parents disappeared, my brother brought me here. The police officer who investigated our parents' disappearance seems to have been transferred here. The day before yesterday, I ran into him. A tightness seized my chest. I opened my mouth but didn't know how to respond, so I just gripped his hand tighter. It's okay. His voice carried a comforting tone that merged into the vast white void. I provided some clues for the capture of Yuze. Probably, it was to thank me. My brother and I reached our front door. A plainclothes police officer was standing there. His hair had grayed more since the last time I saw him, yet his gaze was as sharp as ever, or rather, honed by the years into something even more formidable. The middle-aged officer's eyes lingered on the hands my brother and I held, his look somewhat playful. Long time no see. The bond between you siblings is still as strong. 21. It's been over 7 years, hasn't it, little you? And yes, Lu Ming. It's been so long. You two haven't changed much. My brother and I were sitting on one side of the sofa. The middle-aged officer smiled at us, the wrinkles at the corners of his eyes unfolding, an amiability that made it hard to gauge his sincerity. I remember when I was handling your parents' case. Your sister was still in high school. He gestured to his own waist to indicate her height at the time. I was also a rookie cop back then, and yet I still haven't been able to fully resolve this disappearance case. This has been a burden in my years of policing. That's why I dislike dealing with older cops. They know the art of communication too well and how to probe into people's hearts. And my brother, obviously, was more adept at handling this than I was. Officer Wang, is that banner for me? I just helped you a little, and you even came to visit? I'm really flattered. My brother was all smiles. But the older man's gaze remained fixed on him. After a moment, he also smiled. Thank you for your assistance in capturing Yuze and his criminal gang. The case is going to court next week. If you're interested, you could attend. Here, the banner. He handed the banner to my brother, who reached out to take it, but halfway through, he stopped. But, speaking of which, after all these years, have you two discovered anything new about your parents' disappearance? I suddenly stood up. The coffee table shook slightly due to my movement. Officer Wang looked at me with interest, while my brother reached out to steady me. Sorry, the water in the kitchen must be boiling. I'll make you some tea. My steps were a bit frantic as I opened the kitchen door, leaning against the sink. I gasped for air, my heart was racing too fast. As the sun set, I stood enveloped in a vanishing shadow, the foam in the sink trembling. Something wasn't right. This wasn't like the past life. Why was that case being brought up again? Was it because I provided my brother with a clue, and he just happened to meet Officer Wang? Had the timeline shifted, just when my brother and I were finally getting our lives on track? Living like normal people, please, no. I clenched my fists tightly, letting the pain bring back my sanity. From the living room, the conversation between my brother and Officer Wang was faintly audible. My sister has always been timid, as you know. Our parents disappeared when we were just kids. You scared her just now. My brother's voice was calm and firm. Oh, I've always found it odd. The parents disappeared, yet you and your sister don't seem anxious. Do you think your parents are alive? Somewhere unknown to you, or are they dead? Officer Wang's probing questions were meant to stir emotions. After a moment of silence, I heard my brother say, I think they're dead. Then Officer Wang made a sound of acknowledgement. If my dad were alive, that gambler would probably smash everything just to take the house I bought for my sister to pay off his debts. If my mom were alive, she'd probably never let my sister go to university. She'd force her to go out and sell herself. So whether they are alive or not, I hope they are dead. There was a long silence, and Officer Wang didn't speak again. Are you trying to morally blackmail me? Think whatever you want. My sister has been in the kitchen for quite some time. I'll go check on her. The sound of the kitchen sliding door being pulled was followed by my brother embracing me. I realized then that I was shaking. Looking up, I saw the boundary between light and dark. It turned out we had always been lost in the darkness. The living room, where Officer Wang was brightly lit. Our kitchen, unable to hold on to the last glimmer of the sunset, was swallowed up into a damp, oppressive cage. I heard Officer Wang loudly say, but the law is unsympathetic. One is dead. One is missing, the main culprit. I will definitely catch him. It is my duty as a police officer. I shuddered. My brother scoffed. He lifted my chin and kissed me. Quite rebellious, isn't it? In the living room, Officer Wang loudly discussed his ideals, while in the dark kitchen, my brother's hand slipped inside my shirt, caressing my waist. He kissed my nose, lips, and neck, whispering softly, indulging in the most fallen acts. My vision swayed. I caught a glimpse of the bright light in the living room. Perhaps, I had been in the deepest hell all along, so I am not afraid of the dark, and I also despise the light. 22. May just welcomed the intense chirping of the summer cicadas. I was sitting at the entrance of the police station, surrounded by people coming and going. It wasn't until I saw that man with graying hair, Officer Wang. Though middle-aged, he still exuded vitality. Stretching while clutching his leather wallet, he spotted me. Hey, little yo. You've been visiting this old man quite frequently lately. I handed him the milk tea I was holding. He complained about not being used to the drinks of the younger generation, yet he took a big sip. So, I heard you're graduating soon. How's your brother? I ignored his question and said, our old house back home is going to be demolished. He raised an eyebrow. Oh, that self-built house? That's great news. That area is being developed. You should get a decent compensation. I fell silent for a while, quietly looking up at him. When I was a kid, my parents used to hit me. The setting sun was reflected in my pupils. I watched as the expression on the police officer's face grew serious. I was young and didn't understand. It hurt when they hit me. Maybe it is indeed possible to do something utterly outrageous. Officer Wang's smile completely vanished from his face. Police are always so sharp. Perhaps his rapidly working mind had already run through the causes and consequences 1,000 times over. I turned around and left him. 23. When I got home, my brother had already prepared a full table of food. I told him I'd finish class at 4. It was already 6. I suddenly remembered. The first time I came back to life, my brother was also sitting on the sofa waiting for me. I walked up to him and took his hand. Bro, I called out to him. He seemed to be sealed in the continuously setting sun, holding my wrist. He hugged me. Where have you been? I went to see Officer Wang. I promised my brother I wouldn't lie to him again. He sighed and ruffled my hair. Fool. It seemed as if a lot of words could be hidden in actions, like when my brother lifted me up, kissed me. Like when his fingers ran through my hair, winding around again and again. If everything in the world had a temperature, then I hate the intense heat of summer. Shall we eat first? His fingers brushed away my bangs, breathing near my lips. I tightened my grip around his neck. What are we eating, brother? Food. Brother. We mixed up each other's predicates. He looked down at me, then pulled me into his embrace. Outside, a bicycle bell rang. The pungent scent of someone's Sichuan pepper drifted in through the window, but I knew this summer was almost over, so I had to kiss him as if fighting against time. I wanted to melt him into my heart, etch him into my brain, never to forget in this lifetime. 24. I called my brother. Asked if he could come to my graduation ceremony. My brother responded softly on the phone, non-committal. I'm not sure. I might have a job tomorrow helping a client find a cat. If you don't come, you're dead. I threatened through gritted teeth. He laughed. What kind of death? I'll never want you again in this lifetime. He was silent on the phone, then remarked, that indeed would be an irreversible loss. Actually, I still didn't know whether my brother would come, but I am the valedictorian, meant to give a speech. The money for my schooling came from my brother fighting in underground boxing rings. He kept it a secret from me, saving money by eating only pickles and steamed buns for a month. He's this superhero called a brother, earning every bit from unimaginable hardships. I wanted him at least to know that his sister had made something of herself, but when I actually got on stage, the hall was packed with people. I hadn't seen my brother before going up, and I didn't know if he was hidden among them. Still, I mentioned him in my speech, thanking my brother, without whom I wouldn't be here today. I felt he probably didn't hear it. He was likely still out helping that client find their cat. I should understand my brother more, after all. When everything is accounted for, I still owe him. I stepped down from the stage, and someone stood in front of me. It seemed like a fool bringing flowers to his girlfriend. Until I realized this fool had my brother's face, I was stunned. That was the first time I received flowers from my brother. Flowers. His tie was slightly askew, clearly just having met with a client, perhaps even turning down a significant commission. He leaned forward, smiling at me. Hey, little yo, I bought some white roses. You look prettier than the roses. During the 15 minutes I walked with my brother through the bustling playground, I counted a total of 27 girls sneaking glances at him. 3 girls asked for his WeChat, treating me as if I were invisible. I was somewhat relieved that my brother had never spent time on a college campus. Otherwise, who knows what kind of wealthy, beautiful rivals might have appeared. Many graduates were taking photos on the playground. I tugged at my brother's sleeve. Bro, let's take a photo together. I rarely took photos with Lu Ming, because I used to think there was nothing worth capturing with my controlling brother. This was the first time I wanted to keep something with him. He looked at me with lowered eyelids. The emotion in my brother's eyes was so intense. I was somewhat glad it was a crowded playground. We asked a young girl to take a few pictures for us. When she returned the phone to me, the girl smiled. You and your boyfriend look great together. Thank you. I didn't correct her. I think my boyfriend and I are a great match too. When I referred to my brother as my boyfriend, the look in his eyes was almost ferocious. You're saying it for the first time? What? The summer wind stirred up the hustle and bustle, lifting his tie. My brother never belonged to the youth or the naivety that was mine, yet, he made my heart race more than anyone I had ever brushed past. In the small alley 100 meters from the bustling playground, the summer breeze blew through. My brother pinned me against the wall and kissed me. It's the first time you called me your boyfriend, baby. I've waited so long for those words. His kiss nearly made my knees buckle. Life seemed to have entered a cycle of improving fortunes. My brother and I kept our lips sealed about a certain matter. Waking up in the morning, he held me in his arms as we brushed our teeth, our reflections mirrored in the glass. We each went to our own jobs. Sometimes he would bring a bunch of delicate white roses to pick me up. Sometimes I would bring him the latest dish I had been researching to try. My brother said this was returning kindness with ingratitude. Then the rainy season of that summer always brought heavy downpours. Our travel plans were forced to cancel. I didn't know whom to be angry with, so I made a fuss with my brother. He held me in his arms and told me to sleep. Later I really fell asleep in his arms. Waking up to the continuous rain tapping against the window panes, the sunset streaked through the raindrops, and the street ads lit up one by one. My brother kept holding me in that same posture, still angry. He tousled my bangs and asked in a hoarse voice. I looked up and kissed his lips. Dummy. One evening, I came home early. It was my brother's birthday, and I wanted to surprise him, so I sneaked into his study, a place more like a clutter of books and miscellaneous items, where I used to study and solve problems, now used by my brother as his office. I planned to secretly hide his gift in the cabinet. While opening the drawer, I accidentally glanced at the stack of white papers on the corner of the desk. They were just ordinary sheets of paper, but it was clear someone had used them as padding for writing before, leaving some impressions. My gaze fixed on a pencil that had rolled to the side, possessed by some impulse. I picked up the pencil and began tracing over the impressions. Slowly, the message my brother had previously written began to emerge in the graphite gray. 9/17 demolition. It seemed to be the date our old family home was scheduled to be demolished. A chill seized my heart suddenly. No one knew the secrets hidden in that old house. In my past life, I didn't even live to see the day the old house was demolished, but as the date drew nearer, it dragged along my anxious heart towards the abyss. Until a calm and gentle voice pulled back my thoughts. "Little yo, what are you doing?" My brother leaned against the door frame, calmly raising his eyebrows as he looked at me. "Brother." I instinctively pulled down the marked paper and crumpled it. My brother stared at the crumpled paper in my hand. "What is it?" "Let your brother have a look." I lightly tossed the ball of paper into the trash can and walked over. Looping my arm around his neck, my brother bent down to look at me. His eyes were like the clearest colored glass in the world. How could I bear to see them shatter? I stood on my tiptoes, gently kissed the corner of his lips, and he let me do as I wished, even holding me by the waist. "Happy birthday, brother," I whispered to him softly, handing him the prepared gift. An album made up of photos of us both. We solemnly placed it on the shelf next to the refrigerator. "Just 2 pictures," he said with a hint of self-mockery. "It will be filled up," I said. Picking up the instant camera, my brother was by my side, with the gentle glow of the candle on the cake behind us. His arm rested on the dining table as I leaned my head against him. "Brother, smile," and he smiled. It was my brother's 26th birthday. That day, I was still by his side. In fact, every day I spent with him, I was just as clingy. But September 17th was like a curse. It devoured the few remaining summers the first had with my brother. September 16th, the day before our old house was demolished. I went to the police station. My brother was out of town on a business trip today, and I came without him knowing. Before coming, I had called Officer Wang. "Hey, young lady, you haven't contacted me in a long time." His voice was as calm as ever, as if he was competent in handling anything. "Officer Wang, I want to confess, I felt like I had dropped a bomb. As a police officer, he should have taken it very seriously. Instead, he didn't handcuff me but invited me to have tea with him upstairs." "Officer Wang, did you hear what I said?" "I said I want to confy." He stopped in his tracks. "Young people these days, do you treat the law as a joke?" "Me, confession also requires evidence that you have committed a crime. Do you understand?" The setting sun stretched the shadows endlessly down the stairs. The police officer stood at the top of the stairs staring at me, and for a moment, it felt like a sharp sword had pierced through me. I steadied myself and said to him word by word, "My foster father and mother, I killed them. When I was 12, they were entombed in the walls of our old house. The evidence is, tomorrow, when the house is demolished, you should be able to see their bodies." It was a long stare. I hate eyes that can see through everything, so insightful and penetrating. I prefer my brother's, always gentle no matter when he looked at me. Quite interesting. After a while, the middle-aged officer smiled. But I couldn't smile. The sword of justice finally judged me, punishing the former self who abandoned my brother. "Do you siblings take turns confessing or what?" "However, your brother got ahead of you by a day," she said. "My brother, little girl, your family's house is being demolished today, not tomorrow." "Did your brother lie to you?" "He was already detained yesterday and has been taken to the site for DNA testing. The results are about to come out. Do you want to come with me and see who the real culprit is?" No wonder, my brother, who never goes on business trips, suddenly had one. No wonder, he didn't delve into what was written on that crumpled piece of paper. It was meant for me to see. No wonder, no wonder. At lunch yesterday, my brother looked at me as if he couldn't bear to let me go. It was clear, he thought he might never see me again. I don't know how I ended up in the police car with Officer Wang. Nor do I remember what he whispered in my ear, as the wind swept silently past the street scenes outside the window. For the first time, I thought about rescuing my brother. They say the start of autumn has arrived, and with it, my summer has gone. 28, my name is Lu Yu. The trafficker said it was embroidered on the cloth I was wrapped in when I was stolen, the year I was sold to my adoptive parents. I was 3 years old, my adoptive mother said. "A girl is just a loss of money, isn't she?" The trafficker replied, "You're offering too little money. Well, she's not your own flesh and blood, so you can use her however you want. She's so pretty. Her body would definitely sell well. Besides, listen, she doesn't cry or make a fuss. Quietly, let me tell you. I stole her from a commercial street next to a university in the city. She's got cultural genes." The trafficker marketed me like a product, but my adoptive parents still haggled over the price until the trafficker said, "The son you lost is called Lu Ming, right? Well, isn't that a coincidence? This little girl is called you, Lu Ming, feeding on the wild fruits. This girl might just bring your son back to you." My adoptive father spat on the ground and rubbed his nose. "What a load of nonsense. My son is called Lu Ming because our chickens never crow on time. If she was called Goose, I might believe she could bring our boy back, but in the end, they still bought me, because I was cheap, because..." That thing called an adoptive father leered at me, sizing me up from top to bottom. He rubbed my small arms and legs. "She's not his own daughter." Wait till you grow up a bit. It seems like others always forget what happens in childhood, but my memories are vivid. Every day felt painful. Sometimes it was the inexplicable beatings from my mother. Sometimes it was being chased and bitten by the dogs at home. Sometimes it was the pain of unbearable hunger. When I was 8, Lu Ming was found, yes. Lu Ming was their biological son. That night, my mother made me sleep in the pigsty. Where I saw him, he wasn't much better off than me, dirty, but with very beautiful eyes, the likes of which I had never seen before, just like his mother's. Actually, I liked my mother. Because although she always hit and kicked me, she gave me food. In my world, there was no concept of someone who is kind to me. To me, a mother who fed me was. I despise Lu Ming, ever since he returned. My mother stopped feeding me meals. I've actually fought with the family pig for food. Later, Lu Ming secretly shared his meals with me. He said, "I'm your brother." I hadn't learned to speak properly, but I mimicked his tone and mumbled something unclear. I despise Lu Ming, but subconsciously, I felt attached to him. I felt like Lu Ming took everything from me, yet he was also the reason I survived. So, one day, I quietly took the initiative to hold his hand. I watched as his pupils slowly dilated. That year, he was 13 and I was 10. I had no idea what kind of shattered, hollow, and demeaning feelings my brother harbored for me. I only knew that my brother was the top student in the county, and he was very clean. My brother was different from me, and I despised him even more for it. But when that man hit my back with a wine bottle, dragged me by my hair against the wall, and left my body covered with scabs that healed and reopened, it was only my brother who pulled me into his room to apply medicine. His cold fingers traced the wounds on my back, and I looked up at the moon. That night, my brother held me in his arms. I didn't know what decision my 15-year-old brother made that night. That strange-smelling little house in the countryside, every day, I continued to live in agony. My mother started doing bizarre things, and my father dragged me out of my room to beat me. My brother remained silent throughout. I only remember one day, I was gasping on the floor after a beating from my father. One of my teeth had fallen out near my brother's feet. I looked up at my brother. I said, "Save me." His pupils trembled. I blamed him for his indifference, but at that time, I didn't understand. They were his biological parents. He stood by their side. The first time I got my period, my mother was overjoyed. She said, "You can go out and earn money now. Are you happy?" I felt that my mother had almost gone mad by then. She hid in her room every day, snorting that white powdered substance. My father had gone mad too. He kept losing money gambling, selling everything at home that could be sold. The world was already distorted. The only clear thing in that continuously churning world was Lu Ming. He became a county-level top student. He was very smart. Only in his arms did I feel safe, yet I still resented him for not being able to rescue me. I didn't know that he had been secretly planning something for a year. When my father gambled away all the money, the only thing left to mortgage was the house. He also planned to borrow money to build a smaller self-built house. That day, my mother was unusually gentle. "Xiao Yu, do you remember those pictures I showed you before? If you do what they do in those pictures, you can earn a lot of money. You know, you earn money, build a big house for your mom and dad." At that time, I really didn't understand that this was selling. I didn't realize how humiliating it was, how dangerous, how utterly insane. They knew I didn't understand, but a kind of fear started rising from the depths of my heart, because my mother was pressing down on my body, making me kneel in front of my father, that drunken slob. Tilting his head to look at me, that woman, crazed from sniffing powder, did everything her husband said, because he gave her money. "Let your dad try first to see if you have the skills." Okay, my mom wanted me to unzip my dad's pants with my teeth. I struggled frantically. In that moment, I felt terrified, unsure of what I was afraid of. The world turned upside down, pouring into black paint. It churned and tore me apart. The pain was intense. It turned out to be my mom pulling at my scalp. I thought I lost another tooth when my dad's liquor bottle hit my head. Everything was tearing apart, crumbling. I wondered, is human existence merely to suffer? I asked why? Why me? What did I do wrong? It hurts so much. Do you even realize how much it hurts? But there's no one in the world who feels sorry for you. My brother came home from school and pushed open the door. This was the scene he saw. My mom was forcing white powder up my nose, and my dad was nearly stripping me bare. The liquor bottle shattered, and my palm was impaled on it, blood gushing out. This world isn't good, neither for me nor for my brother. When did my mom let go of me? When did my dad lower his hands? I don't know. I only saw the world soaked in red. Warm liquid gently sprayed onto my bare skin. Fireworks outside, the screams of two grown animals pierced through my eardrums. I couldn't feel it, couldn't understand why they were screaming like that. It's just pain. I go through it hundreds of times every day. I stared fixedly at my brother. His axe fell from his hands, spraying out damp, warm liquid. It stained my eyelashes, and I squinted my eyes. My brother, expressionless, told me to stand back. "If they really find out, I can't let the police trace your DNA." His voice was so calm, it felt like he was just serving me a bowl of noodles. It seemed like the most ordinary day amidst countless others we had endured that night. I cleaned myself up and put on my favorite clothes, sat at the table, cleaned every nook and cranny of the house, placed a bunch of flowers in a battered vase. My brother was in the kitchen, mixing fresh mortar for a new wall. Everything was taken care of. My brother ruffled my hair, and I knew. The next day I went to the police station crying, "Woo-woo, officer. My parents haven't come home for 2 days, I'm so scared." Were my parents missing, dead? Neither my brother nor I knew. That year my brother was 19, and I was 16. My brother said he'd earn money to support me, but he never told me that. Just before stepping into our house, he had shoved his college acceptance letter into his pocket. 29, a loud explosion jolted me from my thoughts. Was there some festival today? Fireworks? I looked up, watching the sky burst into splendor, casting light on everyone's faces, falling into the long river merged with police lights. My brother, wearing handcuffs, accompanied by a police officer, standing not far away. Our house had been partially demolished. Police officers came and went, incessantly handling the scene. Did my brother see me? I don't know, actually. He always managed to spot me accurately, that time at the house where he tutored students. At my final graduation ceremony, a few steps forward, the neon lights casting on my face, my brother has the most unforgettable gaze I've ever known. He's a madman. His love for me is despicable and twisted. He's the kind who would lock me up without a second thought. He's the one who had feelings for me since he was 12. Turn back. Please, turn back. Forget the body embraced by your brother, the murmurs in the night, the intertwining kisses. Then, all of this will no longer concern you. But why do I still love him so much? I walk faster, begin to run, passing through layers of neon lights, darting past the stars scattered by fireworks. I hear voices stirring, the summer wind blows through. My brother stands on the platform, his hands are cuffed. I rush over to kiss him, our lips crash under the falling fireworks. In reality, I've always been in an endless darkness. My brother is my only star. You must let me kiss him at the end, because he is my only star. Police officers rush over to separate us. My brother looks down, he doesn't speak to me again, as if I were a stranger suddenly entangling him. Your brother didn't want you to be an accomplice, Officer Wang says beside me. Lighting a cigarette, I stare at the fading fireworks in the sky and softly say, my foster father almost violated me, my foster mother is forcing me to take drugs, so, they don't deserve to die, only my brother deserves to die, right? Why don't you arrest them, Officer Wang? Is it because you can't? He ignores my emotional provocation. Murder is against the law, that's the legal rule. I regret not being able to put those scumbags in jail. But whether they deserve to die is for the law to decide.
Yeah.
Great, I rest my chin on my hand, looking out the window, light ignites the deep black night. The law? Why isn't there a law to protect brothers who protect their sisters? No one answers me. I look down. After a while, I turn to Officer Wang beside me. My brother seems like a madman. Can he get a reduced sentence? Epilogue. I always feel my brother has grown thinner. After coming out of prison, he also seems colder towards me. This is 3 days after I brought my brother home. I don't know if it's because of his buzz cut. He lost some of his former gentleness and gained some sharp coldness. At 6 in the morning, my brother wakes up on time. I set an alarm to get up this early, because I'm afraid my brother might just run away. I hurriedly serve him a bowl of porridge. Thank you, my brother says to me. My brother actually thanked me. Even when our relationship was at its coldest, he had never thanked me before. I'm stunned there, watching my brother eat his porridge methodically. My mom also comes down the stairs. Xiaoming, are you used to the room we prepared for you? Yes, my birth mother has been found. My brother was sentenced to 7 years for intentional injury. The DNA comparison and on-site investigation results are out. The cause of death for the man and woman was not due to axe wounds, but from shards of a beer bottle. The police speculate that my foster mother was affected after consuming a large amount of psychiatric drugs. This triggered a stress response. The DNA found in the wound that caused my foster father's death was also my foster mother's. In other words, it was indeed my foster mother who caused my foster father's death and then committed suicide. The reason why my brother and I have different memories might be due to the traumatic, bloody scene and the stress it caused us, as well as the bag of white powder my foster mother tried to force-feed me. My brother, having demonstrated good behavior, was released 2 years early. During these 5 years, thanks also to Officer Wang's assistance, I found my birth father and mother. Both are university professors, and they have been looking for me for decades. The moment they saw me, my mother hugged me tightly and cried uncontrollably. Only then did I realize that I, who had been abandoned, abused, and trampled upon, was also the child whom 2 parents on the other side of the world longed for day and night. My parents are very kind to me. They are willing to fulfill all my wishes. For the first time, I lived in a big house with stairs. For the first time, I used a bathroom with a bathtub. And after finding out about me and Lu Ming, my parents didn't prevent me from being with him. I thought my brother and I had finally reached a happier phase. On the day I picked up my brother from prison, I couldn't stop talking to him. I found our dad and mom. I have a family now. Brother, I got a teaching certificate. I can start working as a teacher next month. However, in 3 days, he only spoke 4 sentences to me. Oh. Okay, thank you. I felt like I was going to explode. My brother wasn't like this before. He used to smile at me, comfort me, and speak tenderly, but now, he hadn't even said, "I miss you" to me. There was a knock on the bedroom door. It was my brother. I thought he came to make up or finally wanted to say something nice to me, but, he was wearing a black windbreaker, with a backpack, looking like he was about to leave. Luyo, say goodbye to uncle and aunt for me. I won't bother you anymore. I'm leaving. He was really leaving. His sister was still standing in front of him, yet he was leaving. My heart felt like it was being crushed. I was furious. "Where are you going?" I asked him. "Going home." He looked down. "No, brother. This is also your home." I grabbed him. "Since you've found your birth parents, don't call me brother anymore." His cold voice seemed to pierce through my heart. Aren't you still my boyfriend?" I tugged at his sleeve, not believing that my brother would deny even this, considering how he used to react just because I mentioned a boyfriend. After a pause, he remained silent. He brushed my hand aside. "I've been in for 5 years. No contact for 5 years. How can I still be considered a girlfriend?" I stood there, stunned, looking at him in disbelief. "No, bro, what's wrong with you?" I was really angry, and a bit panicked, but couldn't express it. "You've been acting weird since you came back." I never expected him to push me away. It wasn't really a push, more like a gesture to move me aside, but I was so angry. I felt dizzy, and so I fell against the doorknob. Unfortunately, there was a splinter on the door from where over time, my arm scraped against it, leaving a trail of blood. It looked quite scary. Blood began to bead and trickle. My brother's expression visibly shook. He tried to help me, but I shoved him away. "Get lost, Lu Ming. You don't want me anymore, do you?" He froze, listening to me. "Did you figure it out in prison, that this sister, who's only dragging you down, isn't worth supporting, just like that? You're ditching me. You're really a jerk. Just go. I don't need you anymore either. Stay away as far as possible. I don't even want to see you. I hate you the most." But that's not true. I really miss you. You're not a jerk at all. How could I possibly hate you? I was speaking sarcastically. I always use sarcasm to confirm whether my brother still loves me or not, but this time, my brother paused for a moment, his eyes flickered, then he got up, and he really left. He really walked away from me. He really doesn't want me anymore. I sat on the ground, unable to understand why my brother would do this, unable to understand why he changed after coming back from prison. Tears started to fall uncontrollably. Anyone who made me cry, I could stop immediately, but not when it's my brother. 4 days after Lu Ming was released from prison, I cut off contact with him. "Where's Xiao Ming? He didn't come home yesterday." The afternoon sun gently poured over the sofa, and my mom sat beside me. Caught off guard by this mention, I couldn't help but feel a twinge in my nose. "He doesn't want me anymore. Probably figured it out in prison. Thinks I'm not good enough for him." I rested my chin on my knees. My mom reached out, rubbing my back. "I don't think it's like that. People often can't help but reflect on their own lives when they see the happiness of others. You've told me about Xiao Ming's family. I think maybe, when he sees you, he's reminded of himself. Could it be that he feels he's not worthy of you?" I looked up at my mom. "Xiao Ming, the way he looks at you, there's love, but it's always filled with sadness. Perhaps, for him, watching you from afar is better than being by your side." I pondered my mom's words. She patted my shoulder, handing me the car keys. "Do you want to go after him? Give him courage. There's no such thing as deserving or not in this world. You are very important to me. You are the most suitable for me." Where could my brother go? Where could my brother's home be? The setting sun bathes the old neighborhood in its fading glow. This, the only place he could call home, is the house where we lived together for over a decade. I have the key. When I open the door, a wave of alcohol hits me. My brother drinks. I remember he never used to drink much. I tiptoe barefoot through the clutter of scattered slippers, a space I tidy up every month. It's never too dirty. Bottles and jars are strewn beside the table. A man, drunk, leans against it. I walk over to him, observing the object he clutches in his hands. It's a thin photo album of us together, the last birthday gift I gave him. I shake him gently. "Get up." His eyes squint drunkenly, and as I sit in front of him, I ask, "Why did you let go of Luyu?" His eyes immediately redden. "I didn't let her go. I didn't let go." Drunk. He's almost panicked, also somewhat lost, his vacant eyes staring at me. "Then why did you leave her?" "Because she doesn't need a brother anymore." His voice is soft and moist. "She doesn't need one anymore. If she stays with her brother, people will talk. Why would she be with someone who's been in jail? It can't be like this. It shouldn't be. She needs to be okay." I lean on the table, playing with his bangs. "What if she doesn't care?" My brother opens his eyes to look at me. "But others do. I can't let my sister be the subject of rumors, speculation, and humiliation." I hold his face, looking into his eyes. "Luyu loves you." Lu Ming laughs self-deprecatingly. "What's that worth?" "It's because I was the only one who loved her before. That's why she loved me. But now, she has her parents, she has a home, she has people who love her. My love is nothing to brag about. I feel like my brother is breaking apart. The smell of alcohol on him isn't unpleasant at all. Why do I still crave it so much? I look into his eyes and say, only where you are, that's my home. He laughs, that's not true. I lift his chin and kiss him, our tongues entwine, and he suddenly opens his eyes. A moment of clarity returns, he sees me, it's a dream, I hear him say. Yes, it's a dream, brother, you can do whatever you want to me. He presses me against the table and kisses me. I hear him say so many things to me. I miss you, don't go, I love you, I like you so much. He says everything I wanted to hear, in the silent loneliness of the night. I have spent countless nights in this room, in this spot, with my brother, through many a humid, oppressive night. The night breeze ushers in endless darkness, my stars light up again, faintly illuminating the night. They bring a veil of gossamer into sweet dreams. The next day, my brother tries to leave again. I play the recording from last night to the indifferent man standing by the bed, all his cooing words to me, little you, I love you so much, don't go. I raise an eyebrow at him, brother. Do you have a split personality, day and night? Not the same person? The man's dark eyes stare at me for a long moment, he sighs, then he pounces on me, wrapping me tightly in the thick blanket. Lu Yu, from now on. It's too late for regrets.